All you guys listening right now, I want you to drop in the comments what you think about the dirty bird actually causing lots of inflammation in your system. And if you'd be willing, in order to perform optimally and have your body be functioning with less inflammation, to eat less or actually rid it of your diet. So you are what your food eats. One of the things that we worked on was first reducing inflammation dramatically. And that required a pretty large augmentation in what I was eating and supplementation. So maybe you can talk about. And also, we can get into this idea of toxins, because I had a very interesting experience, which I'm open to sharing as well.
Well, I think when we talk about, when you're using athletes as an example, athletes are just incredible human specimens, right? But they spend a lot of time and they dedicate a lot of time and effort towards creating a really healthy, fit, able body to perform in whatever sport it is that they're engaging in. But they also have to have great recovery. They've got to have the great ability for endurance. And so in order to have all of those elements of building strength, building great cardiovascular health and conditioning, you've got to have a healthy gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome is important because if the gut microbiome is inflamed, then that inhibits our body's ability to efficiently break down food and efficiently absorb nutrients, which will then distribute it out to the body to give our muscles the nutrients it needs to grow, to give our organs and other mechanisms in the body the essential nutrients that it needs to function. And so when the body is highly inflamed, it inhibits the body's ability to do that efficiently. And so creating a healthy gut microbiome allows the intestinal tract, if there's less inflammation in the intestinal tract, you have a higher nutrient uptake, which will then allow you to absorb more of the nutrients that you consume, therefore getting more nutrients to the muscles, brain, cognitive function, great gut health and performance, energy levels, sex drive, all of the major human mechanisms that we need.
You heard it from Chris himself, right? Reducing inflammation will increase the sex drive. Let's go. I was someone who was like, I would perceive myself to be like health conscious. Like I played, sports in high school. I've done triathlons. I've done half marathons. And I would really kind of think that I was doing what I could to consume things that I felt were healthy. And what I've realized as me and you have spent more time together is that's really more about marketing from the food industry's perspective. Because I would look at something and I remember literally I'm texting you while I am in the grocery store saying like, hey, bro, is this good? You're like, nope. And I'm like, well, it looks, the packaging, it says organic on it. It looks like it's healthy. And you're just like, nah, dude, not this. So maybe talk a little bit about how a lot of your work is really kind of undoing what people think they know.
There's so much conversation and so much content out there nowadays that floats around the health and wellness industry and the fitness industry. And so it's so easy to get confused. You're hearing 50 different versions of, what's inflammatory, what isn't, what's healthy, what isn't, what's the right way to work out and exercise, what isn't, so it's very easy to get confused. But, when you look at the nutrition side of it and look at the food industry, the food companies, if you really think about it from a basic standpoint, they're companies, right? What is their objective? To make as much profit as possible. There's a lot of companies out there that will do whatever it takes to cut corners to increase their margin. And so you see companies incorporating things like seed oils like palm oil or canola oil or vegetable oil or sunflower oil. These oils that are highly inflammatory to the body, but they're approved by the FDA and are used in a lot of common foods and ingredients that we consume on a regular basis, as opposed to using a more expensive oil like an olive oil or a coconut oil or an avocado oil, because that would shrink their margin in their cost of production. So, this is where you see companies just will cut corners left and right to try to improve their overall bottom line, which from a capitalism standpoint, you understand that. But if we, the consumer, have the knowledge and understand and know what to look for, we then can have strategies against what foods we choose to put in our bodies. And it's not just about, reading the front label of a package. The front label of the package is always marketing. That's what I say. I have clients will always send me the food, send me what you're going to eat tonight. Or if you're grocery shopping, you have questions about a particular item, if you can have it, send me a picture of it. And they'll always send me the front. It says organic, it says gluten-free. I said, that's the marketing. Show me the ingredients. And they flip it over, and sure enough, you see xanthan gum, guar gum, sunflower oil, all of these additional fillers that are, again, approved by the FDA, but are highly inflammatory to the gut and to the body. And so if you have people who aren't aware of these particular ingredients that these companies use, then on a regular basis, you're constantly consuming these foods and these toxins that are driving up systemic inflammation on a daily basis. The way that they try to increase their profits is to decrease their cost, because they're trying to sell it for the highest price point they can on the shelves, but they know there's only a certain threshold of how high they can go. So where do they increase their margin? By decreasing their cost of goods. And how do they do that? They sneak in ingredients that 99% of the people they're not educated and don't know, or they don't care. So they'll consume it, no problem. And this is what will eventually, or has been leading to, the health epidemics that we see all around the world, which, you see all sorts of illness nowadays, and it's tough to watch people suffer. When someone like myself knows and understands that there is an opportunity to educate people so you can take control of your health and really reduce the numbers of illness and disease that's happening in the world today. If you just knew what to look for and knew the decisions to make, we could start to work on really seeing an improvement in that area. And that's the goal, at least with what I do. And, is trying to educate my clients to empower them so that they're making better decisions. They know what to look for.
I believe that our bodies are the hardware and our brains are the software. So what I became aware of when I was like, okay, I'm going to get serious about this. I knew that there's different levels of awareness. There's unconsciously incompetent. So I don't know what I don't know. But then there's consciously incompetent. You're like, oh, I'm aware that I don't know some shit. Then there's consciously competent, Then there's unconsciously competent, which is you in this space, which is it so well, you don't really have to think about it anymore. Well, I became aware that I was consciously incompetent. I knew that I didn't know. So I'm like, okay, I need to get access to someone who knows, so I could download your software from your brain to my brain, so I can make better choices and decisions, not only around kind of what I'm eating, but also movement and stuff.
What would you say was the fastest translation of improvement that you noticed once you started to make some of these shifts?
Yeah, it was interesting because it's going back to that toxin piece. I remember texting you because, part of it is celery juice in the morning, which is anti-inflammatory, changing my diet. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty marked change, right? Because I was eating, more starches and flour and things of that nature. And I remember texting you and saying hey, bro, I'm noticing something. You're like, well, what are you noticing? And I was like, look, dude, I'm not somebody who from the time I was young, I've never really had to wear deodorant because I just don't produce an odor of some sort. And I was in the kitchen and I thought it was my wife. I was like, babe, you're humming, bro. You need to go do something about that. But then I realized, I was like, oh shit, that's me. So I texted you and I was like, hey man, is there anything we're doing or any supplements we're taking that would cause this to happen? And you were like, nah, bro, what's happening is that's toxins leaving your body.
Your body's purging.
That really blew my brains out because I was like, wow, that's so interesting. All of this kind of, pent up, inflammation that was there, or toxins that were in my systems, or soft tissue, because part of your work is lots of soft tissue work. And as we continued as we started to integrate that, I saw a direct result with what was happening with my body. The first phase of your program is okay, we need to really detoxify and make your system less inflamed. And that first 3 months you've described it to me, it's intense. I've had people ask me about you and stuff because, I'm sharing with people stuff that works and is good. And I'm like, listen, bro, it's awesome. You need to be clear on something. You need to be prepared because it will be you'll get out of it what you put into it. But that first, I guess maybe talk a little bit about why that's so important, that initial kind of 90-day phase of detoxification.
The reality is that whether it's been intentional or conscious or not, most of us have not been providing a really great environment for our bodies to be healthy and heal, right? Keeping our bodies in a state, in like homeostasis. And that's just by proxy of modern day living, right? We're surrounded by tons of toxins, and everybody consumes alcohol, and we find different reasons to drink and celebrate, and sometimes just blow it out. And sometimes people use it to medicate, whatever it is, right? Same, but with foods, there's just not enough awareness and knowledge. So most people spend a lifetime just kind of doing whatever. And so in order to really give yourself an opportunity to see how you taking control can actually shift and change the way you look, feel, and function, you have to be very aggressive with the approach, right? I mean, the analogy would be is that you can't say you're quitting smoking and still smoke 1 cigarette a day. Like, you're not quitting smoking then. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what you're doing. You can't get the lungs healthy when you're still putting smoke into your lungs if you're trying to reverse that process, right? So same thing with nutrition. I think the hardest part about nutrition is that it's something that we consume every single day. And, you know, when it comes to certain things in life, like I like to use alcohol as the example, like it's easier for people to say, I don't need alcohol, but I do need food, right? So I can abstain from alcohol and say, hey, I'm done drinking. And it's easier when you just create an abstinence around it, right? I'm done. But when it comes to food, it requires people to be negotiators, meaning you're sitting at the table with the family, you're out to dinner, and you're on your meal plan, but somebody in the party decides to order a bowl of sweet potato fries. The negotiation now begins in your head. I've been so good on my program. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't had a cheat meal. Let me just have one. And then one turns into like 3 or 4. Everybody around the table's jumping in. Come on, man. You can have it. You know, so to now sit with yourself in that negotiation, a lot of people aren't great negotiators with themselves. And so it's easy to give in. And so the more you can prove to yourself that you have the ability to override momentary gratification, you now start to build the confidence that nothing has power or control over you when it comes to food. And then what happens as a result of that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, every day you're waking up looking and feeling and functioning better and better and better. And this positive feedback loop and flywheel effect just starts to compound day after day. Now you've got the evidence of, oh my God, look at what happens when I make these choices. Mm-hmm. And from there on, it becomes obvious. I no longer have to, you know, hound you or like check in hard on you because you have the evidence yourself. And not only that, it's extremely empowering because you made the choices. I gave you the roadmap. I lit the path, but you walked down the path. At the end of the day, my programs are only as good as the clients I work with. And so, like you said, it's an extreme commitment. And if you don't make that commitment, then you're breaking your word to yourself. You're breaking your integrity. You start to confirm that, hey, I don't have the ability to say no to things. And I don't have, you know, as opposed to when you do show restraint and you do start to see the benefits, the confirmation is on the other side of it. Oh my God, I do have control over anything. And wow, look at when I make these choices, this is how I look and feel. It's extremely rewarding for people. It feels good. It makes you stand taller. Like that alone improves posture just because people feel proud.
I very much so appreciate you, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing. And if you're out there, he's awesome. He's the man. Check him out. If there's somebody in the marketplace right now who needs my help, my job is to find him. Once you understand this, I could sell anything. I could sell software and I'd be a rock star at it. I could sell real estate, be a rock star at it. Because most people, what they do is they lean more on product knowledge, thinking that's going to help them sell.